I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. It's 7:30 a.m., another morning to start the cycle all over again. I roll over, rub my eyes, and check the notifications. It's a reminder that my rent is due next week. A little tight this month. Same as last month. Same as the one before that. I drag myself out of bed and shuffle to the kitchen. The silence feels heavier these days. My apartment is small, barely enough room for me and the clutter of half-finished projects, unopened bills, and a stack of laundry that's been growing in the corner for weeks. The fridge is almost empty, just some leftover takeout containers and a few wilted vegetables I had grand plans for but haven't gotten around to cooking. I open the fridge, stare at it for a moment, and close it again. Maybe later. The bills are there too, waiting for me. They've become a kind of constant companion, always sitting in the background, always reminding me of what I can't afford, what I won't be able to pay this month. But I shove them back into the drawer. Out of sight, out of mind, for now. I think about my student loans. That chunk of money I'm supposed to pay off every month, but never can. I remember the excitement I felt when I first graduated, this sense of possibility. I thought things would fall into place. I thought I'd have this future where I could pay off my debt, save up, travel, maybe even get a nice place of my own. But now, every time I think about that, I can't help but laugh bitterly. The future feels like some far-off dream, like it's never going to happen. I get dressed, nothing special. A pair of jeans that are a little too tight, a shirt I wear when I don't want to put too much effort into my appearance. My hair is messy, but who cares? I pull on my sneakers and head out. The commute is always the same. Crowded, hot, and quiet. Everyone in their own little world. The train jerks and rattles, and all I can think about is how I need to pick up a second job. It's either that or give up on paying my rent this month. I sit at my desk at work, trying to focus. But it's hard. The weight of everything presses down on me, my student loans, my credit card debt, rent, groceries, the damn car payment. I can't even remember the last time I didn't feel this anxious, this overwhelmed. My mind is constantly running through lists, ways to cut back, ways to save, ways to just make it through another day. It's exhausting, but I can't stop. Every hour spent working feels like a drop in an endless ocean, each paycheck a temporary lifeline that only makes me feel more suffocated. I wish I could go back and take a different path, make better financial decisions, or just avoid this overwhelming cycle. But I can't. I'm here, trapped. Every step forward feels like it's just treading water. I wonder if everyone else feels this way, like they're walking through life with a chain around their ankles. Or if it's just me, somehow not doing enough, somehow not working hard enough, somehow not being responsible enough. I try to remind myself that it's not my fault, that the system is built this way, designed to keep people like me stuck. But some days, I can't shake the feeling that I'm just not doing it right. That maybe if I tried harder, maybe if I hustled more, maybe if I made different choices, I wouldn't be in this position. At lunch, I go to a cheap cafe down the street, the one where I can get a sandwich for under $10. It's not even that good, but it's filling. I sit there, scrolling through my phone, mindlessly checking social media. Everyone seems to be doing fine. Everyone else is traveling, buying new clothes, posting about their weekends. And here I am, staring at my bank account, wondering how I'm going to make it to the end of the month. I don't talk to anyone about it. Not really. I mean, I have friends, but they're all in the same boat, everyone's struggling. And I can't bring myself to complain, to explain how this weight is crushing me. They'd say I should be grateful for what I have, that things could be worse. And I know that. I know it could be worse. But sometimes, that just feels like another way of saying suck it up. Sometimes I want to scream, to tell someone just how hard it is to keep pushing through when it feels like the world is pulling you in every direction but the one you need to go. Back at work, I go through the motions. Emails, meetings, more emails. It's all just noise. My mind is still stuck on the numbers, the calculations I've been doing in my head for the past few weeks. If I work an extra 10 hours this week, I'll make enough to cover the credit card payment. Maybe I can sell some of my things, too, stuff I don't really need, but it's hard to let go of. These are the thoughts that keep me up at night, the ones that creep into my mind when I'm supposed to be focusing on something else. By the time I get home, I'm exhausted. I'm running on fumes, but I still have things to do. The bills are waiting for me, as always. The same question swirling around in my head: do I pay the electric bill? Or do I buy groceries? Can I put off the car insurance for one more month? I eat the last of the takeout, microwave it, and sit in front of the TV, mindlessly watching whatever's on. I don't even care about what's on. I just need to distract myself, to escape. I feel trapped in a system where expenses grow faster than my income. I wonder if things will ever change, if I'll ever get out of this hole. I'm 26, and already, I feel like I'm falling behind. I see people my age buying houses, traveling, starting families, and I feel so far away from that reality. It's hard to see a future when the present is so heavy. I remember the dreams I had when I was younger, being able to travel, to have the freedom to choose what I wanted to do with my life. But now, it feels like those dreams are just that, dreams. They seem so out of reach. I can't remember the last time I felt hopeful about the future. It's hard to be hopeful when every step forward seems like it takes 2 steps backward. I've had to give up on so many things. Little dreams, big dreams. A weekend trip to a place I've always wanted to visit? Not in this lifetime. That apartment I always imagined living in, with enough space to breathe and not trip over things? Not with these bills. But I keep going. Because what else is there to do? There's no other choice but to keep moving, even if I feel like I'm stuck in place. I keep going because I hope, one day, things will be different. That somehow, some way, I'll find a way out of this. That the world will change, or that I'll find a way to change with it. Until then, I just keep waking up, going through the motions, trying to survive. Trying not to drown. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up every morning to the same number, my bank account balance. It feels like the first thing I check, even before I rub the sleep out of my eyes. It's a ritual, a daily reality. A truth that's as certain as the sunrise, but far less comforting. The number is always a little smaller than it should be. It's a tightrope walk, balancing the weight of rent, utilities, groceries, student loans, and the occasional small luxury, like a cup of coffee that isn't from a gas station. I remember when I used to have big dreams, dreams that felt so possible. I thought I'd be able to buy a house, start a family, travel the world. I thought I'd be someone who could afford the things I wanted, without worrying every single day if I was making enough to get by. I thought the weight of money would be something that just made sense eventually. That I would figure it out. But here I am, living in a city where everything costs more than I could ever afford, stuck in a cycle of doing just enough to survive. Today, my alarm rings at 7 a.m., but I don't get up immediately. I stare at the ceiling, trying to summon the energy to face the day. The quiet hum of the fridge in the corner of my room is the only sound. My roommate is still asleep in the other room. We don't talk much, just the usual good morning, or how was work. But there's an unspoken understanding between us. We both know we're in this together, scraping by. I pull myself out of bed and look at my phone, checking the balance again. It's a reflex. The numbers feel like they control my mood, my choices, my life. I feel a sinking pit in my stomach. There's not enough for the week, let alone for the next month. I think about what I can cut out, groceries, gas, maybe I can delay paying that last credit card payment. I push the thought away. I can't think about that today. I get dressed in clothes that aren't new, that haven't been new in a long time. I try to convince myself that I'm okay with it, that I don't need to have the newest trends or the designer labels that I can never afford. But deep down, I wish I could walk into a store and just buy something without checking the price tag first. I wish I could buy a jacket without having to remind myself that it's not in the budget. That's a silly thing to want. I know it. Breakfast is a choice between toast with peanut butter or cereal. The cereal, the kind that's 99 cents a box, is the easier option. It's enough to get me through the morning. I don't remember the last time I ate something that made me feel full. It's always just enough. That's what everything feels like, just enough to get by. I head out to work, cramming into the bus with the other tired commuters. The ride is quiet, everyone wrapped up in their own thoughts, their own worries. Some people sleep, some stare out the window. I do the latter, trying to avoid the feeling of being suffocated by the weight of bills, student loans, rent, and responsibilities. I think about how easy it would be to just disappear for a while, leave it all behind and find somewhere cheaper to live. But then I think about how much more difficult it would be to start over somewhere else. The trap I'm in doesn't disappear just because I change locations. It follows me. It always follows. At work, I check the schedule. Another day of answering emails, taking calls, and doing tasks that barely keep me above water. My job isn't bad, but it's not the career I imagined for myself. I thought I'd be doing something creative, something that made me feel alive. Instead, I'm stuck in a cubicle, just another cog in the machine. Sometimes, I wonder if I made a mistake by not pursuing my passions. But then I remind myself, I didn't have the luxury of being idealistic. I needed to pay bills. The real kicker is that it seems like the world is constantly moving, pushing forward at a pace I can't keep up with. Everything is getting more expensive. Food prices rise every week. Gas prices fluctuate like some cruel joke. Rent in the city is sky high. I know people who've had to move to neighborhoods they never imagined living in, just because that's all they can afford. I think about the apartment I'm in, the one that's small, outdated, and barely enough for 2 people, but it's home. I wonder what it would feel like to have my own place. A place I could decorate how I wanted, a place where I wouldn't have to listen to the traffic outside every night or worry about my lease ending and the rent going up again. Sometimes I sit and stare at my phone, scrolling through Instagram, seeing people travel, see them post about their new jobs, their new cars, their new houses. I wonder how they did it. How they found the magic formula that I'm missing. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. But then I remind myself that I can't compare my life to theirs. I don't know their struggles. Maybe they have their own financial pressures. Maybe they're just better at hiding them. The hardest part is the dreams I've had to let go of, at least for now. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to be a photographer, take pictures of landscapes, of people's lives. I wanted to go to places I've never been, experience things I've only seen in movies. But the reality is, every time I think about pursuing these dreams, I have to stop myself. I don't have the time or the money. How could I? How could I put more of myself into something that isn't guaranteed to pay the bills? It's not practical. So I wait. I keep working. I keep pushing through the day, every day. I don't know if I'll ever get to the point where I'm financially comfortable. I don't know if I'll ever stop living paycheck to paycheck. But I try to remind myself that it's okay to have dreams, even if they're postponed. Even if it feels like I'm stuck in a system that was never built for people like me, the ones who can't afford to thrive but have to fight just to survive. There are moments, though, when I look ahead. I try not to. It's easier to just focus on the day-to-day grind. But sometimes, I imagine a future where I'm no longer constantly worried about money, where I can travel when I want to, where I don't have to worry about debt hanging over my head like a dark cloud. I want to believe that it's possible, that there's a way out. But I also know that I can't control everything. All I can do is keep going, keep showing up, and hope that one day, things will get better. For now, I do what I can. I make small steps, like cooking meals at home instead of buying takeout, or finding ways to cut down on expenses that feel a little less important. I remind myself that this won't be forever. That even if it takes longer than I hoped, I'll get where I need to go. I have to. I don't have another choice. But that's the thing, isn't it? When you're stuck in the grind, you don't have the luxury of time. Every decision, every choice, feels like it's critical to your survival. And sometimes, it's enough to just make it through. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see that this struggle was the thing that shaped me, the thing that made me resilient enough to handle whatever life throws at me. Maybe this is just part of the journey, one that I'm supposed to learn from, even if it doesn't feel fair. But right now, I'm just trying to survive. Trying to hold on. Trying to believe that things will change. I wake up every morning to the hum of my alarm, like a reminder that the clock is always ticking, but it's not the usual kind of pressure. It's not just about time passing, it's about how little time I have before everything starts to go wrong if I don't keep up. The first thought that hits me as I open my eyes isn't about my day or what I'm looking forward to, it's about money. Bills. The constant worry that I won't be able to make ends meet. I roll out of bed, feeling the weight of it all before I even get my feet on the ground. It's the same cycle every day. I check my bank account, hoping for a miracle, but there's no miracle to be found. I've learned not to expect one anymore. The balance stares back at me like a stark reminder of how little I have to work with, how stretched thin I've become. I can already feel the tightness in my chest, the early signs of anxiety creeping in. The rent is due in 2 weeks, and I'm still $200 short from last month. My car payment is due next week, but I'm not sure how I'm going to cover that either. The credit card bills, which were supposed to be paid off months ago, keep piling up. Each payment feels like a tiny dent in an insurmountable mountain. I try to take a deep breath, but it's hard to find space to breathe when everything feels suffocating. The economic environment, I think. It's all anyone talks about lately. How inflation is through the roof, how rent keeps rising, how groceries are getting more expensive. Every time I go to the store, I'm shocked at how much less I get for the same amount of money. I used to be able to buy a week's worth of groceries for $50, but now I'm lucky if it lasts 3 days. I've stopped buying things that bring me comfort. No more fancy coffee or those little snacks that make me feel like life isn't all just a grind. Everything now has to be practical, cheapest, quickest, most bare bones. Sometimes I wonder if I've become numb to it all. There's so little space for enjoyment, so little room to breathe. I don't even remember the last time I treated myself to something I didn't need. Everything is either food, gas, bills, or the rent. I've tried to save, but savings feel like a joke. I put aside a few dollars when I can, but they're swallowed up before I even get the chance to feel like I've accomplished something. When I'm at work, I feel like I'm just going through the motions. I keep my head down, do my tasks, and hope I don't get called out for being slow or inefficient. My boss is nice, but I know the company isn't in a place to give raises. Everyone's trying to do more with less, and it feels like the harder I work, the less I get in return. I know I'm not alone in this struggle, everyone in my office is feeling the same pressure. But it doesn't make it easier, knowing I'm just one of many who are barely hanging on. Sometimes I think about what I'd be doing if I weren't so overwhelmed by money. I had dreams once. I used to think I'd be able to travel, see new places, live in a cool apartment in the city, maybe even go back to school. But now it feels like those dreams were for someone else, someone who had a different life, different opportunities. It's not that I've given up completely, but those dreams have had to be put on hold. Every time I think about saving up for something big, like a trip, or an emergency fund, I remember how many steps I'd have to take just to catch up on today's bills. And that's if nothing unexpected happens. But of course, things always happen. I've had to learn how to get by on less. I've canceled my gym membership, started walking everywhere to save on gas, and swapped my phone plan for a cheaper one. I try to minimize anything that doesn't directly contribute to keeping my life running, but even then, I find myself caught in the trap of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm scared to look at my credit card debt because I know it's spiraling. I'm scared to check my student loan balance, too, though I know I can't avoid it forever. And then there's the guilt. I feel guilty about everything. Guilt for not being able to afford the things I want, guilt for not being able to go out with friends, for having to turn down invites because I can't afford the meals or the drinks. I feel like I'm missing out on life, but the thought of spending money I don't have feels irresponsible. So I stay home, watch Netflix, and try not to let myself spiral into a hole of frustration. I don't know how everyone else does it. They seem to have it together, but I feel like I'm just pretending. It's not that I don't work hard. I do. But sometimes, it feels like no matter how hard I work, I'm always behind. Always struggling to catch up. I've had days when I just want to throw in the towel. When the weight of everything feels too much to bear. But I can't afford to give up. I have responsibilities, rent, bills, things that can't wait. So I push through, one foot in front of the other. I do my best to keep my head above water, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm drowning. I try to keep hope alive, though. I tell myself that things will get better someday. That maybe, if I keep working hard, I'll get that break. That maybe, somehow, there will be a way out of this. But every day feels like a battle against the inevitable. No matter how hard I try, I can't seem to get ahead. And that's the hardest part, knowing that it's not just me. It's the system. It's the economy. It's the way things are set up, where costs keep rising faster than wages. And all I can do is hang on and hope things change before it's too late. But sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever be able to catch my breath. If I'll ever feel secure. Or if I'll just keep living like this, forever chasing a future that always feels just out of reach. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this. So many people are struggling just like I am. It doesn't make the pain less real, but it helps to know that there are others out there feeling the same way, doing their best to keep going despite it all. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Maybe getting through today is all I can ask for right now. But damn, I can't help but dream of the day when I can finally breathe easy again. The first thing I do when I wake up every morning is check my bank account. I know it's a bad habit, but it's the only way I can gauge how much of a cushion I have left, or if I'm going to have to skip meals this week just to make sure rent gets paid. The screen always looks the same, like a tiny window to the reality I'm stuck in, just enough to get by, but not enough to breathe. I'm 26, and I'm constantly tired. I work full-time, but the numbers just don't add up. It feels like I'm running on a treadmill that gets faster with every step, but I can't catch up. I've done the math, countless times, and it's the same result every month. The expenses are growing faster than my income. My student loan payments are a huge chunk of that, not to mention rent, utilities, groceries, and everything else that comes with being an adult. Every month feels like I'm just surviving. There's no time to rest, no time to dream, because all I can think about is the next bill. Sometimes, I think about what I was told growing up. Go to school, get a degree, and you'll find a good job. Everything will work out. I thought that, too. I was convinced that once I graduated, I'd land a good job and everything would fall into place. But instead, I got a job I didn't love, one that barely pays the bills, and my student loans are still haunting me. They don't care about my job title or how hard I work. They just want their money, whether or not I have it to give. I still have the same dreams I had when I was younger, traveling, buying a house, feeling like I have a stable future ahead of me. But those dreams feel further away than ever. The most I can do is dream about a future where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, where I don't have to choose between paying for gas or buying groceries. I try not to think about it too much, though. It makes me feel like a failure. I know that's not rational, but that's how it feels. Like I'm stuck in this system where, no matter how much I work, I'm always 2 steps behind. The worst part is the guilt. When I check my bank account, there's always that sickening feeling that I'm falling behind. I try to save, but every time I think I'm getting ahead, something comes up, an unexpected expense, a broken appliance, or, in recent months, the cost of living rising faster than wages. I can't keep up. And it's exhausting. I cope with it, like most people do, by pushing through the day and pretending everything is fine. I tell myself that one day, I'll catch a break. Maybe a better job will come along. Maybe I'll win the lottery, though I know that's unlikely. I convince myself that I just need to keep going. But inside, there's a quiet panic that I try to ignore. It's always there, like a constant hum in the back of my mind, reminding me that I'm on the edge of something. I just don't know what it is. There are days when I feel like I'm drowning. It's hard to explain to anyone, especially to people who don't live paycheck to paycheck. I get invited to do things with friends, go out to eat, take a weekend trip, but I can't afford it. I look at the calendar and see so many things I want to do, things that are out of reach because I can't justify spending money I don't have. I think back to the days when I had fewer responsibilities, when a night out or a trip seemed doable. But now, those things feel like luxuries. And I'm not sure when I'll ever get to experience them again. I tell myself it's just temporary. That once I get through the next few months, things will stabilize. But deep down, I know I'm just telling myself a story. I know the struggle isn't going away. The economy is shifting, the cost of living is rising, and wages aren't following. I know so many people like me, trying to hold it all together, trying to scrape by. We're all stuck in a system that doesn't make room for us to breathe. And it's terrifying. There are moments when I think about giving up, maybe not literally, but in a way. I fantasize about quitting everything, just walking away from the responsibilities that weigh me down. I think about traveling, escaping this reality for a while. But the truth is, I'm too scared to do that. I don't have the luxury of walking away. The bills keep coming, and I'm the one who has to deal with them. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. If I'm missing the magic formula that everyone else seems to have figured out. But then I remember, it's not about me. It's about a system that's rigged against people like me. It's about wages not keeping up with inflation, about the cost of living outpacing any reasonable salary. It's about being stuck in a cycle where I feel like I'm working harder than ever, but never making enough to get ahead. The toughest part is the uncertainty. It's not knowing how long I can keep up this pace. It's not knowing if I'll ever get the chance to take a deep breath and enjoy the life I've worked for. I see people around me getting promotions, buying houses, having the things I've always dreamed of, and I feel like I'm standing still. Like I'm stuck in a waiting room, waiting for a life that might never come. But I keep going, because what else can I do? I keep pushing through the days, hoping that somehow things will change. Maybe one day I'll get the break I need. Maybe one day I'll wake up and the numbers will finally add up. Until then, I just keep moving, even though it feels like I'm running in place. It's exhausting. But I'm here. I'm surviving. I hope that's enough. It's been a year since I graduated, and every day feels like I'm running a race that I can't quite finish. I'm 24, and I feel trapped, like I'm stuck in this endless loop of working to make ends meet but never really getting anywhere. Every month, I pay my rent, try to buy groceries, make sure I have enough to cover the bills, and then there's always something unexpected, an emergency, an increase in the cost of living, or just the nagging realization that what I'm doing isn't enough. The worst part? It's not even my fault. I went to college thinking I'd come out with a degree that would help me get ahead. Instead, it feels like I'm still stuck on the same treadmill I was on before, except now I have student loans looming over me. They're a constant weight on my shoulders, $300 a month, which doesn't seem like much to some, but when you're barely making it week to week, it's a lot. Every time I pay that bill, it's like I'm giving away a piece of my soul, knowing that money could have gone to something else, anything else. And then there's the rent. It's gone up, again. I can't even remember the last time my rent didn't increase, and it's starting to feel like I'm paying for the privilege of just existing in this apartment. It's a small place, barely enough room for me and all my stuff, but it's mine, and I'm trying to make it work. The thought of moving is enough to make me panic, because I don't know if I could afford a deposit for a new place, especially if the rent there is even higher than what I'm paying now. The anxiety of not being able to find anything affordable is exhausting. I wish I could say that I'm saving, but I'm not. I can't. Every time I try to put money aside for something, it feels like the world finds a way to knock me back down. The car broke down last week, and I had to scrape together every last cent to get it fixed. I had to skip meals to make it happen, and even then, I only managed to get a basic fix. If it breaks down again, I'm screwed. But I need the car. Public transportation here isn't reliable enough for me to rely on it. I could take the bus, but it'd take me an hour to get to work, and I'm already working 50-hour weeks. It's exhausting. I don't have the energy to think about what else might go wrong, but I know it will. I've had to give up a lot of my dreams, things I thought I could do once I was grown up. I had this fantasy of traveling, of living in different cities, maybe even countries. But now, every time I open a travel blog or scroll through Instagram, I feel a pang of sadness, like I'm missing out on a life that everyone else is living. Sometimes I lie to myself and say that one day, I'll be able to do those things, but that one day is looking farther and farther away. I used to have this idea of what success would look like: a good job, a house, maybe a dog, a little garden, and a vacation every year. Now, my success feels like just surviving. Some weeks, it feels like I'm drowning in expenses. Every time I get a raise, it's like it's immediately eaten up by the increase in the cost of everything. Gas, food, healthcare. And don't even get me started on my insurance premiums. The more I work, the more I pay, and it doesn't seem to add up to anything more than just existing. It's hard to admit, but sometimes I feel like a failure. Like, I'm doing everything I can, but it's still not enough. The hardest part is the emotional toll it takes. I've noticed myself getting frustrated with friends who don't understand. They talk about their vacations, their nice dinners out, the house they're saving up for, and I feel this knot in my stomach because I can't relate. It's not that I don't want them to be happy, but it's hard not to feel bitter when I can barely afford to go to a movie with them, let alone plan a weekend getaway. And I don't know how to explain that to them without sounding like I'm complaining. They don't understand, and I don't want to be the poor friend who always has an excuse for not participating. So I smile and nod and pretend everything's fine, when it's not. Sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake choosing this path. I love my job. In theory, I'm a marketing assistant for a small company. But it's low paying for the amount of hours I work, and I'm not really going anywhere. There's no growth. There's no opportunity for advancement. I've applied to other positions, but every rejection email stings more than the last. I tell myself it's a tough market, but the constant feeling of being overlooked takes a toll on my self-esteem. It's hard to feel confident when you're always being told no, and then, there's the emotional weight of it all. I try to stay positive. I try to focus on the things I have. I have my health. I have friends who love me. I'm not homeless, and I have a roof over my head. I know things could be worse, and I tell myself that every day. But some days, it feels like the pressure is just too much. I'm so tired. I wake up tired, go to work tired, come home tired. I can barely remember what it feels like to be excited about something. I used to have hobbies, things I was passionate about, but they've all fallen to the wayside. I don't have time for them anymore. But I'm doing what I can. I remind myself that this is temporary, that one day, it will get better. I have to believe that. I can't give up on the idea that things will change, that my efforts will eventually pay off. The dream of something better is the only thing keeping me going. But right now, it's hard to see that future. It's hard to imagine a world where I'm not constantly worrying about money, about surviving. I don't know when things will turn around, or if they even will, but I have to keep going. Because what else can I do? So, I get up every day and do the same thing. I work, I pay bills, I try to save what I can, and I keep pushing forward. But some days, I just need to scream. Some days, I need to cry. Some days, I need someone to tell me that it's going to be okay, even when I'm not sure I believe it myself. But for now, I'm here. I'm doing my best. And that's all I can do. I wake up in the dark, the faint glow of my phone the only light in the room. It's 6:30 a.m., and I can already feel the weight of the day on my chest. The day before didn't end much better than any other, and today feels like it's just going to add to the list of reasons I've been feeling like I'm drowning for the last couple of years. The same relentless pressure that's been pushing me down since I graduated from college. I drag myself out of bed, my feet hitting the cold floor, and I feel it again, the creeping dread of knowing that no matter what I do today, I'm not going to feel free. The first thing I do is grab my phone. Checking the bank account is like stepping into an old, painful routine. The number isn't as low as it was last week, but it doesn't matter, it's still low enough to make me feel like I'm stuck, caught in a cycle that's spinning faster than I can keep up with. I pull up my budget sheet and see the same ugly numbers: rent, utilities, student loans, car insurance, groceries. Everything costs more than it did last month, and every time I get a paycheck, it's like a tiny balloon that bursts the moment I try to hold on to it. I'm 26. I have a full-time job that, by all accounts, should be enough to live on, but it feels like nothing ever stretches far enough. The paychecks don't match the cost of living, and no matter how many hours I work, I'm always behind. I can't tell you the last time I bought something without feeling guilty about it. Even a cup of coffee feels like a luxury, and I still have to remind myself that I deserve it sometimes, but then I'll check my bank balance later and wonder if that dollar could have gone to something more important. I get dressed for work, pulling on the same worn-out jeans and a shirt that's a little too big but still somehow acceptable. I stare at myself in the mirror for a moment, wondering if I'll ever be able to afford clothes that fit properly or look fresh. My thoughts spiral quickly into the same cycle: I work hard, I do my best, but it doesn't feel like enough. As I get into my car and drive to the office, I think about all the things I've had to give up. I used to dream of traveling, of visiting places I'd only seen in books or on Instagram. Now, the idea of booking a flight feels like a cruel joke. I could barely save for a weekend getaway if I tried, and even that would mean compromising on the basics: food, gas, rent. My friends talk about their vacations, their new clothes, their new apartments, and I nod, smile, but inside I'm aching. I want to ask them if they know what it's like to constantly worry about making it to the next paycheck. But I don't. Because I can't let them see how much it's eating at me. The hardest part is how it affects my emotional well-being. It's not just the constant money stress, it's the isolation that comes with it. When you're always struggling, you learn to hide it. You learn to smile when you'd rather cry, to say I'm fine when you're anything but. You cancel plans because you can't afford to go out, and you spend evenings scrolling through social media, watching people live lives that feel out of reach. I've stopped talking to most of my friends about it, not because I don't trust them, but because I'm so tired of explaining how it feels to never have enough. The worst days are the ones where I get into work and feel the weight of the bills hanging over my head. There's something about sitting at my desk, pretending everything is okay, while my mind is somewhere else, worrying about the electric bill, wondering if I should take another freelance job on the side just to stay afloat, wondering if I should even try to save anything at all. I've started to feel guilty for having hopes and dreams, because they always seem so far away, like I'm chasing something that doesn't exist for people like me. I wonder if I'll ever get to a point where I can afford the basics, like health insurance that actually covers something more than just emergency care, let alone anything else. I've had to postpone everything. I think back to the things I thought I'd be able to do by this point in my life. I imagined I'd have a career I could be proud of, a home I could call my own, maybe a dog or a trip to Europe, or even just a weekend away. I thought I'd have a savings account with more than just a couple $100s in it. Instead, I have credit card debt, student loans, and rent that keeps going up faster than my income. I'm stuck in a loop of working, paying bills, and then starting it all over again. Sometimes I wonder how long I can keep this up. I tell myself to be patient, to remind myself that I'm doing everything I can, that things will get better eventually. But I don't really know if they will. There's a deep part of me that fears I'm just going to keep running in place until I'm too tired to try anymore. There are days when I question everything. Is it even worth it to keep pushing? Should I leave my job and look for something that pays more, or will I just end up with the same pressure in a different place? The uncertainty eats at me, and I realize I can't even make a solid decision about my future because the next few weeks are already planned out with the barest of essentials: work, bills, groceries, repeat. I don't have the luxury to think beyond the next paycheck, and that's what truly breaks me. But there are small victories, too. I make it through the day without breaking down. I cook a cheap, filling meal instead of ordering takeout. I catch a glimpse of something that makes me feel hopeful, a job posting for something that could lead to more stability, or an old friend reaching out for coffee. It's these little things that remind me I'm still trying, that I haven't completely given up on myself yet. And then I remember that I'm not alone in this. The financial struggles I'm facing aren't unique to me. Everyone I know is feeling it. People are working multiple jobs, stretching every dollar, watching prices rise, and dreaming of a future that's just out of reach. The system isn't built for people like me, and yet we have to keep navigating it, keep pretending we're okay, keep hustling. Maybe someday, I'll get there. Maybe someday, things will feel less impossible. But for now, I'll keep pushing, because what else can I do? It's not just about surviving, it's about hoping that one day, the hard work will finally pay off. Until then, I'll take it one day at a time, one small victory at a time, because that's all I can do. Maybe that's enough. It feels like I'm stuck in a loop, running in place, and no matter how fast I go, I never get anywhere. Every day is a tangle of numbers in my head, like a puzzle I'm constantly trying to solve but never quite finish. I get up in the morning with this pressure in my chest, anxiety mixed with dread. I never know exactly what I'm waking up to, but I already know it's going to cost me. It's just the reality of living in a world where expenses rise faster than any paycheck could keep up with. I've always been a dreamer. I had big plans when I was younger, visions of traveling the world, starting my own business, or just being able to afford something that wasn't a necessity, something just for me. But somewhere along the way, that version of myself started to feel like a distant memory. I still see her sometimes when I scroll through old photos or when I catch myself thinking about something I've wanted to do for years. But now it feels like a luxury to even entertain the idea of a future beyond the grind of getting by. I work a full-time job in retail. It's not glamorous, but it's steady. At least, it should be. The problem is, the bills don't stop. Rent goes up. Utilities go up. Groceries? Forget about it. I try to meal prep, but even that's a game of survival now, buying cheap, bulk stuff that won't spoil too fast, but somehow always finding myself looking at my fridge and wondering where all the food went. Sometimes, I skip meals just so I can make sure I don't go over budget. I tell myself it's temporary, that I'm just cutting back for a while. But it's been months now. Maybe longer. There's this constant pressure of being aware that I'm one emergency away from falling apart. It's a small, nagging fear that grows bigger the longer I go without having savings to fall back on. I think about my student loans, the ones that came with promises of a brighter future. That future seems further away with every passing month. I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford a house, or if I'll just keep cycling through apartments that feel more and more like temporary spots to rest while I wait for the next financial crash. But it's not just the big stuff that gets to me. It's the little moments that pile up. The phone bill that's due, the car maintenance that I push off until it's absolutely necessary, the last-minute expenses that pop up and make me feel like I'm juggling 1,000 things at once. Some days, I feel like I'm sinking. I get home after a long day at work and look at the clutter in my apartment, knowing that I should clean but feeling too tired to care. I know it's just one more thing that adds to the stress, but I just can't find the energy. Even on the days when I do manage to tackle a few tasks, there's this sense of emptiness that lingers. I wonder, sometimes, if this is all there is. Work, bills, sleep, repeat. The routine is comforting in its predictability, but it's also suffocating. I try to tell myself that there's a point to it all, that the struggle will pay off somehow. But deep down, I'm scared it won't. I've had so many plans that have had to wait, vacations, hobbies I've always wanted to try, career moves I've wanted to make. I don't have the money to take time off. I don't have the resources to make big changes. So instead, I just keep existing in this space, trying to scrape by. There's a part of me that feels like I'm just waiting for something to give. But the truth is, I don't know what that something is anymore. I used to have big dreams, dreams that I thought I could accomplish with hard work. But the world's different now. The economy's different. And it feels like the more I try, the further I fall behind. It's like I'm constantly climbing a mountain that's just getting steeper. And every time I reach what I think is the top, I realize I've only made it halfway. There's no summit in sight. Only more bills, more expenses, and a feeling that no matter what I do, it won't be enough. I try to take care of myself when I can, but it feels like self-care has become a luxury too. The gym, therapy, going out with friends, they're all things I put on hold because I can't afford them. Instead, I'll binge watch a show to forget about everything for a while, or scroll through social media and watch people live lives that look easier than mine. I know it's unhealthy, but it's easier than facing the truth that I'm stuck. And the hardest part is that nobody tells you that this is how it's going to feel. When you're younger, they make it seem like everything's just a stepping stone to something better. But this feels like being stuck in a system that doesn't care about you. And the worst part? The worst part is knowing that there's no clear way out. I see other people my age living a life I want, and I can't help but compare. They're traveling, building their careers, starting families, and I'm just here, living paycheck to paycheck, hoping the next one will be enough to keep the lights on. I wonder how they manage it, how they make it work. What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? Sometimes, I think about what I've lost. The things I wanted to do, the plans I had. The things I used to get excited about, starting a side business, taking a road trip across the country, investing in my passions, now feel like far-off fantasies. I tell myself I'll get there one day, that this is just a phase. But I'm not sure when that phase will end, or if it will ever truly end. At the end of the day, I keep going because I don't really have a choice. I wake up every morning, check my bank account, and tell myself it'll be okay. I budget as best as I can, and I remind myself that this is just one chapter in the story of my life, even if it feels like it's dragging on. Maybe one day, I'll be able to look back and see it as a lesson in resilience. But right now, it just feels like survival. Every day is an act of pushing through, of trying to do better, even when it feels like there's no room to breathe. But I guess that's what you do when you're stuck. You keep going, even when you're not sure where the road leads. You keep going because there's no other choice but to keep moving forward, no matter how small those steps might feel. Maybe one day, things will get better. Maybe one day, I'll find the space to dream again. Until then, I'll just keep doing what I can to survive. I can feel the weight of it every morning. The moment I open my eyes, the same thought hits me like a wave. How am I going to make it through today? I'm 25, and I should be in a better place by now. That's what everyone tells you when you're young, right? The better place is supposed to come with time, with hard work, with dreams coming true one by one. But lately, it feels like I'm stuck in this cycle, running in place. I get up, make my coffee, black, no sugar, and stare at the bills scattered across the kitchen table. I haven't opened half of them yet, and the ones I have? They just mock me. Rent is due. Utilities are due. Credit card bills are due. And I haven't even gotten to the student loan payments yet. Sometimes I wonder if the numbers on these things are just going to keep growing faster than my income. It's a sickening thought, but it's one I have more often than I care to admit. I work 2 jobs. One's a full-time office gig, the kind of job that's supposed to lead somewhere. The other is at a local cafe, late nights, weekends, whatever I can fit in. I do it because I have to. The office job pays okay, but with the cost of living going up every year, it's never enough. My hours at the cafe help make up the difference, but it's exhausting. I'm always running on empty. Every shift I work, I'm on autopilot, moving through tasks, taking orders, making lattes, all while thinking about what I could have done differently to make my paycheck stretch. Could I skip the coffee this morning to save $1? Maybe I could go without lunch today, too. I'll be fine. But the truth is, I'm not fine. I know I'm not fine. It feels like I'm suffocating under this constant pressure to keep up. Prices are going up, groceries, rent, gas, and my paychecks? Well, they're barely holding steady. Some months, I can't even pay everything on time, and then I get those late fees that just pile on top of the already high stack. It's like I'm drowning, and the harder I swim, the more water comes in. At work, I pretend like everything's normal. I smile, I do my job, I keep up appearances. But inside, it's a different story. Inside, it feels like I'm falling apart, and no one even knows. My friends all seem to have their stuff together. They've got nice apartments, new clothes, vacations planned for next month. And I'm stuck here, scrimping and saving for the next bill that's going to come crashing through my door. I can't help but feel like I'm failing sometimes. The constant comparison to everyone else makes it worse. It's hard to celebrate other people's successes when you feel like you're sinking. And then there's the constant mental math. What can I afford? What can I put off? Do I really need to pay for this medicine right now, or can I make do for a few more weeks? Can I make my car last another year without fixing that thing that's been broken for months? Every decision feels like a gamble. Should I eat something healthy today or just get whatever's cheapest so I can save that $5? Every choice, no matter how small, feels like it has to be weighed against the pressure of the bills waiting for me. Sometimes, I sit in my apartment and just stare at the walls, wondering how it got this bad. I didn't go to college with the intention of ending up in debt, struggling to get by. I thought the degree would lead to something more, something better. Instead, I feel like I'm trapped in this endless loop where nothing ever gets better. I've had dreams, big ones. I used to talk about moving to the coast, finding a place by the water, writing, doing something creative with my life. I thought I'd have the time to travel, to see the world, to live outside of the tiny box I feel stuck in now. But those dreams feel like something that belongs to someone else. Maybe I was naive. Maybe those dreams were for a time before the world shifted, before everything got so expensive. I don't know anymore. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever be able to take that trip, or even go out for a nice dinner without having to check my bank account first. But I keep going. I have to. There are days when I feel like I can't do it anymore. There are moments when I sit in my car, on the way home from one of my jobs, and just cry because I don't know how to keep up. But I do. I wipe my eyes, take a deep breath, and push through. Because what's the alternative? Giving up? No. I can't afford that. Still, there's a part of me that's lost. I put things on hold for so long, postponed my own life so many times, that I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever get back to the person I thought I'd become. I don't have time to hang out with friends anymore. I don't have time to relax. My weekends are spent either working or recovering from the exhaustion of the week. I used to think that this was temporary, that I was just paying my dues. But as the months drag on, it starts to feel less temporary and more like the only way it will ever be. And it scares me. Sometimes I imagine a future where I'm not constantly counting pennies. A future where I can just exist without feeling like I'm always running behind. But that dream feels like it's slipping further away. I wonder if I'm ever going to get ahead or if this will just be my reality for the rest of my life. There are moments, though, when I find small pieces of peace. I take a walk on a quiet evening, or I read a book for a few minutes before bed. I've learned to find comfort in the small things, the moments when I can let go of the pressure, even if only for a little while. They remind me that there's still something worth holding on to. Maybe, just maybe, there's hope. I don't know what the future holds. I wish I could say that I have a plan, that I'm going to make everything work out. But I can't. I'm just trying to survive right now. I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow without drowning in all of this. But I'm still here. And as long as I'm here, I'll keep going. Maybe someday I'll find a way out of this financial mess, but until then, I'll keep doing what I can, one day at a time. That's all any of us can do, right? One day at a time. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up to the soft buzz of my phone, the sun barely starting to filter through the curtains, but the first thought in my head is already about money. It's always money. I lay there for a moment, scrolling through my notifications, some work emails, a couple of messages from friends who are already thinking about their weekends. But nothing stands out to me. I'm just trying to find the strength to get out of bed and face the day. Another day of counting pennies. I've always been a bit of a dreamer, always thought I'd do something great with my life. I wanted to travel, I wanted to see the world, meet new people, create things. But it's hard to dream when your head is buried in bills. I feel like I'm drowning in a flood of responsibilities, none of which I can ever fully escape. The rent is due soon, and my paycheck just barely covers the essentials. There's no room left for anything else. When I look at the balance in my bank account, it's like staring into a void. It's like I'm always a step behind, always chasing something I can't quite reach. I think about my friends sometimes, how they seem to have it all together. They talk about their vacations, the gadgets they're buying, their plans to move out, and it hits me, I'm stuck. I used to have dreams of living in a city apartment with plants by the window, hosting dinner parties with friends, maybe even owning a dog. But those dreams feel so far away now. I can barely afford rent on my own, let alone an apartment I actually like. Even if I wanted to move out, the cost of living in this city is brutal. It's more than just rent, gas, groceries, healthcare, utilities. Everything has gone up, and my salary hasn't kept pace. I don't know how people are managing. I feel like I'm constantly playing catch-up with the cost of everything. It's funny because when you're young, you think money problems are something old people deal with, like something that'll happen when you're older and wiser. But here I am, in my 20s, already feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, and every time I check my bank account, it's like the universe is reminding me that I'm not as grown up as I thought I'd be by now. I've become an expert at living within my means, but it's not a life I ever imagined for myself. I've cut back on things I used to enjoy, like going out to dinner with friends or catching a movie. Sometimes I'll go out for a coffee or a drink, but then I'll sit there with my phone in hand, mentally calculating how much I'm spending. It's exhausting. It's like everything I do, every choice I make, is dictated by how much I can afford, and that's a suffocating feeling. The freedom I thought adulthood would bring? It's nowhere to be found. The worst part is the constant anxiety. I wake up at night, sometimes, and my first thought is always about the bills that are piling up. My student loan, credit card debt, the cost of gas, everything. It's like a weight I can't shake off. I tell myself I'll be okay, but I don't know if I believe it anymore. It's hard to be optimistic when the future looks so uncertain. When I hear people talk about stability, I wonder if it's even a thing anymore. I don't know how I'm supposed to find it when everything is so unstable. The economy, the job market, even basic things like food and gas, everything feels volatile. I don't even feel safe putting money into savings because, even though I know I should, it feels like there's no point. I don't have enough to cover the things I need right now, let alone save for the future. I've learned to mask it all with a smile, to act like everything is fine when it's not. It's easier that way. I tell people I'm doing okay, even when my heart feels like it's pounding in my chest. It's easier than explaining that I'm barely getting by, that I'm constantly stressed, that I can't afford to get sick, that I'm putting off things like a dentist appointment because I know it'll cost too much. It's easier than admitting that I've postponed so many things, like my plans to move to a new city, my hope to eventually start a family one day, because I just don't have the financial stability to even dream about them right now. Some days, I'm angry. Angry at the system, angry at the way everything feels so out of my control. I try to do everything right. I went to college, I got the job, I pay my bills on time, and still, it's never enough. It's frustrating, feeling like you're doing everything you can but still being crushed by the weight of it all. And I know I'm not alone in this. There are so many of us, struggling to stay afloat in a world that seems to keep raising the bar higher and higher, while wages stay stagnant or barely move. I cope in small ways. Sometimes I'll drive to a park and just sit there, breathing deeply, trying to block out the thoughts about money. I'll listen to music, or scroll through old photos on my phone, pretending for a moment that my life is different. I've also become addicted to side hustles. I'm constantly looking for ways to make extra money. I Uber, I sell things online, I pick up odd jobs wherever I can. But even those don't bring in much, and it feels like I'm just treading water. I don't have time for hobbies anymore. I don't have the energy to chase dreams. Most of my days are spent at work, then working on side projects, then doing it all again. I've had to let go of a lot of things I once thought were non-negotiable. I no longer think about big vacations or traveling. I just want to survive. I don't talk about it with my friends much anymore. Sometimes, I think they don't even notice how much it's eating at me. I can't keep pretending everything is okay when it feels like I'm sinking under the weight of financial insecurity. But what's the alternative? I don't know. I don't have a plan beyond getting through the day-to-day. Maybe that's just life now, surviving. Maybe that's all any of us can do. And then, sometimes, I let myself dream. For a moment, I picture my life 5 or 10 years from now, when I'm not stressing every time I have to buy something I need. I imagine having a steady job that pays enough for me to not have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, or how much the gas bill is going to be. I think about what it would be like to feel secure, to not have to feel like I'm constantly fighting for my place in the world. But those dreams always feel distant. Like something I'll never get to touch. I just want to be free. To feel like I'm not constantly suffocating under a pile of bills and deadlines. But right now, that freedom feels impossible. I don't know how long I can keep this up, but I do know that I have to. Because that's the thing about living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have the luxury of not showing up tomorrow. You keep going because there's no other choice. And maybe, just maybe, someday things will change. Maybe the world will stop feeling so heavy. Maybe I'll get a break. Maybe not. But for now, I'll keep pushing forward, even if it's just to make it to the next day. Because, what else can I do? The alarm blares, pulling me from a dream where I'm floating on a beach, the waves soft and rhythmic, and my mind is quiet. But then reality kicks in, the sinking weight of bills, rent, and all the little things I can't afford to ignore. I lie there for a second, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember why I wanted to get out of bed at all. The room is small, barely big enough for the bed, the dresser, and a desk I've stacked with unopened letters, some of which are from collection agencies. The light creeping through the blinds looks almost warm, like it's trying to offer me some kind of reassurance. But the warmth is just an illusion, and I pull myself together, get up, and face another day. Breakfast is whatever I can quickly grab, usually toast, maybe a scrambled egg if I'm lucky. I don't have the luxury of time to think about something more substantial, not with how expensive groceries have gotten. I've started to notice the prices creeping up everywhere, groceries, gas, even things like toothpaste and toilet paper. It's a bit maddening, actually. How did I get to a point where every penny feels stretched too thin? I leave the apartment, head to work. The job is okay, not amazing, but it's something. Customer service at a tech company. The pay isn't great, just enough to cover the rent, utilities, and a little bit of food. Barely. There's nothing left at the end of the month, no room for savings, no buffer for emergencies. And yet, every day, I'm expected to perform like everything is fine. My coworkers don't know the half of it, most of us are in the same boat, but no one talks about it. We're all just trying to stay afloat. I sit at my desk, answering emails and handling customer complaints, my mind split between the tasks at hand and the constant calculation in the background of my brain. What can I afford to pay today? Rent is due next week, and I haven't even touched the credit card bill from last month. I'll have to pay something, of course, but I won't be able to pay it all. There's always something I can't quite reach, something slipping through my fingers, just out of grasp. The tension in my shoulders is a constant companion. I can't seem to shake it, even after work. I find myself zoning out sometimes, staring at the wall of my tiny apartment, imagining a life where I'm not trapped in this cycle. I've tried budgeting, tried cutting back, but no matter what I do, the numbers just don't add up. The cost of living keeps climbing, and my paycheck stays the same. There's a sinking feeling in my stomach when I think about how long this has been going on. I try to remind myself that I'm lucky to have a job at all, that some people have it worse, but it doesn't make it easier. I feel guilty, like I'm failing. It's hard not to compare myself to others, especially people on social media who seem to have it all together, living their best lives, going on trips, buying things I can't even think about. Sometimes, I scroll through my feed and feel the sharp pang of inadequacy. I've postponed so many dreams. It's like I've given up on anything beyond getting by. There was a time when I thought I'd be different, when I imagined having a career, maybe buying a house someday, even getting a dog, just living a life where I didn't feel like I was suffocating. But now, I don't know if I'll ever get there. Sometimes, I wonder if I ever had a chance to begin with. The economy, the cost of living, student loans, health insurance, it's all so much, and there are days when it feels like I'm climbing an endless hill with no summit in sight. I get home after work, too exhausted to do anything but crash on the couch. I tell myself I'll read, or maybe work on a side project I've been thinking about, but it's always the same. I scroll on my phone, numb. For a while, I tried to cut down on screen time, tried to focus on things that might actually bring me some peace. But it feels like a constant battle. There's always something pulling me back, some distraction to keep me from feeling too much. My friends, when I see them, always tell me to hang in there, that things will get better. I nod, tell them I'm trying. But they don't really get it. They don't see how hard it is to make ends meet when everything feels like it's moving too fast. They've got their own lives, their own struggles, but they're not burdened by the same weight. At least, not in the same way. A few months ago, I thought I might start a small business on the side, something creative, maybe photography or design, something that could offer a little extra cash. But every time I think about it, I get this tight knot in my chest. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. And I certainly don't have the savings to invest in something that could fail. I'm barely holding on as it is. I know what you're thinking, just get a second job. I've considered it, but the idea of giving up every single evening, every weekend, to work more hours, to chase a bit more money, is terrifying. What happens when there's nothing left of me? What happens when all I am is a paycheck? I don't know if I can handle that. It's like the economic system is set up to chew us up and spit us out, and no matter how hard we try to claw our way up, there's always something bigger pushing us back down. I'm trying to make it, but the rules are rigged. I don't know how long I can keep up the fight. I try to cope in small ways. I've started walking more, trying to clear my head when the stress gets to be too much. Sometimes I'll grab a coffee from that little cafe down the street, and for a brief moment, I feel a little normal again. It's like a small rebellion against the grind. I also try to practice gratitude, tell myself that there's some beauty in this struggle, that it's making me stronger, more resourceful. But some days, it's hard to see the point. I used to dream about the future. I used to think I'd have adventures, maybe travel, experience life in a way that was bold and free. But now, those dreams feel so far away, like distant stars that I'll never reach. I've started putting things off, vacations, big purchases, even little luxuries. My focus is on surviving, on getting through another day, another week. And I guess that's what it is now, just survival. I tell myself it won't always be like this. That's the hope that keeps me going, the idea that one day, things will shift. Maybe I'll get a better job, maybe the economy will change, or maybe I'll finally figure out how to break free of the financial weight. But it's hard to hold on to that hope some days when the bills keep piling up, when every choice feels like a sacrifice? How long can I keep pushing forward when it feels like the world is slowly suffocating me? I want to believe that there's more to life than this constant grind, but the truth is, I don't know how much longer I can keep running this race. It feels like every step forward is matched by 2 steps back. Maybe one day, I'll look back and see this as just a chapter, but for now, it's hard to see past the clouds of debt and worry. The future feels uncertain, but I have to keep moving. Because what else can I do? I woke up this morning to the familiar sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand. My first instinct was to check my bank account. It's become second nature now, like checking the weather. I don't even have to think about it anymore. I've been doing this for years. I wish I could say I was surprised when I saw the numbers again. Another month, another tightrope walk. Barely enough to make it through. Rent is due in a week, and that means I'm already mentally preparing myself for the scramble. I'll make it work, I always do. But it's getting harder. I'm 26, and it feels like I've been stuck in this cycle of barely surviving since I finished college. When I graduated, everyone told me that hard work would pay off. Go to school, get a job, work your way up. Everything will fall into place. But no one warned me that the world outside of school was different. I didn't know how much the world would change by the time I was out there, how quickly the cost of living would rise, how stagnant wages would remain, how the reality of student debt would feel like a weight I couldn't escape. Most days, I feel like I'm living in a constant state of anxiety. Like I'm always running behind, but no matter how fast I go, I can't seem to catch up. Every time I make a little progress, pay off a credit card, save a few dollars for something important, something happens that sets me back. A medical bill, a broken car, the rent hike that always seems to come at the worst time. It feels like I'm working harder and harder, but the ground is always slipping beneath me. Lately, I've been waking up with a pit in my stomach. There's no specific reason for it, but the fear is there every day. The fear that I'll never get ahead. That I'll always be in this cycle. I try to be hopeful. I try to believe that things will get better, but it's hard when every month feels like a repeat of the last. I'm getting tired of it. There are days when I wonder what's wrong with me. Why can't I get ahead like the people around me? I see friends getting promotions, buying houses, going on vacations, and I feel this pang of jealousy. But I also feel guilt, because I know it's not their fault. They don't know what it's like to count every penny. To plan every move like a game of chess, anticipating every potential setback. They don't know what it's like to feel trapped in a system where expenses keep growing faster than income. They don't know what it's like to be constantly exhausted, mentally and emotionally drained by the struggle. I cope the best I can. I've learned to take comfort in the small things. A cheap cup of coffee from the gas station, a few extra hours at work that will help me cover the cost of groceries. Sometimes, I'll let myself dream for a moment, about taking a weekend trip, about having a savings account that's more than just a number on the screen, about not feeling like I'm just scraping by. But then reality hits, and I remember that I don't have the luxury of dreaming right now. I have to be practical. I have to stay grounded in the present because if I get lost in those dreams, it only makes the pressure worse. The hardest part is the guilt. The guilt of not being able to do the things I want to do. I get invited to parties or out to dinner with friends, but I have to decline. I can't afford it. I've become the person who always has an excuse. I'm saving up for something important, I'll say. Or, I've got work early tomorrow. But the truth is, it's because I'm afraid to say, I can't afford to be part of that world. And the worst part is, sometimes I don't even know how I got here. How did I end up in a place where I'm always just barely keeping my head above water? It's a strange thing, living in a world where everything feels out of reach. I can see my dreams, feel them within my grasp, but they always seem to be just beyond my reach. I want to travel, to see the world. I want to buy a house. I want to experience what it feels like to live without this constant pressure hanging over me. But the reality is, those things feel so far away now. Every time I try to get closer, I get pushed back again. Sometimes I wonder if I'm ever going to catch a break. If I'll ever feel like I'm in control, rather than constantly reacting to life. I dream of having a career I'm passionate about, of not feeling like I'm stuck in a dead-end job just to make ends meet. But right now, even the thought of switching careers seems impossible. How can I take that risk when I'm already treading water? I wish I could tell you I have it all figured out. I wish I could tell you that I have a plan and that I'm going to be okay. But I don't. Most days, I'm just getting by, hoping that somehow, some way, things will turn around. I don't want to be stuck in this cycle forever, but sometimes it feels like I am. I try to stay hopeful, to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. But some days, that's not enough. Some days, it's hard to believe that the future will ever be any different. But I keep going. I have to. Even when it feels like I'm barely holding it together, I keep going because that's all I can do. Maybe one day things will change. Maybe I'll find a way out of this cycle. But until then, I'll keep showing up, day after day, hoping that things will get better, even if I don't know when or how that will happen. I never imagined that being an adult would feel like this. It's hard to describe it without sounding dramatic, but it feels like I'm drowning, not in water, but in bills, deadlines, and expectations. Every day I wake up, and the weight of it all hits me before I even open my eyes. I roll over and check my phone, a habit I wish I could break, but I can't. It's like checking to see how bad the storm is today. I'm 24, with a degree I'm still paying off. Some days, I wonder why I even bothered. I used to dream about getting that fancy job right out of college, the kind of job that made you feel like you were on the track to something bigger. But that didn't happen. Instead, I'm working 2 jobs, one in retail, the other in an office where I'm still just a glorified assistant. Neither job is a path to anything better, but I cling to them like lifelines. Without them, I wouldn't even be able to pay rent. My rent, by the way, is up $150 this year. My grocery bill keeps going up, too, and don't even get me started on gas prices. Everything is getting more expensive while my paychecks stay mostly the same. I feel like I'm stuck in this never-ending cycle, and I can't see a way out. I try not to complain to my friends. They're going through the same thing, anyway. One of them is still living at home with their parents, another is skipping meals to make it to the next payday. We laugh about it when we meet up, but the laughter feels hollow, like we're pretending that everything is okay when we know it's not. We talk about how, one day, things will be better, that's the only thing we really have left to hold on to. We tell ourselves, it's just temporary. But there are days when I don't even believe that anymore. I wake up in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I can keep juggling everything. I can't keep this up forever, can I? Every time I get a raise, it feels like it disappears before I even see it. There's always something else. I have to pay down my student loans, make the car payment, cover the utilities, buy groceries. The list never ends. And every time I think I have a little bit of room to breathe, a new expense pops up, like my phone bill going up again or the vet needing more money for a routine checkup. I'm constantly calculating in my head. I've become an expert at stretching my dollars. It's like a game, but one where I'm always behind. I look at what I have, and I think, okay, if I don't eat out this week, I can make it through. Then, I make a mental note to buy off-brand versions of everything at the grocery store. It's never enough, though. I still find myself a few dollars short by the end of the month. I hate asking my parents for help, but sometimes I have no choice. I hate the way it makes me feel, like I'm failing at life, like I'm not good enough to handle things on my own. I used to dream about traveling, maybe moving somewhere exciting, meeting new people, exploring the world. Now, the only place I go is work, and sometimes, even that feels like a chore. What happened to the dreams I had when I was younger? The ones about being independent and free, about owning a home, having a career that made me proud? Now, I'm just trying to survive. There's no time or money left for dreams, and even if there was, I'm not sure I believe in them anymore. It's a weird kind of exhaustion. I'm not physically tired, at least not all the time. I can sleep for hours and still feel drained. It's the emotional and mental exhaustion of constantly living in a state of survival. I feel like I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe my car will break down, or maybe there'll be another emergency expense that I can't cover. I don't know how to prepare for it because no matter how careful I am, things keep slipping through the cracks. And then there's the future, or what I imagine my future to be. I used to think I'd have everything figured out by now. I thought, by 25, I'd be somewhere else, somewhere better. I thought I'd be in a job that didn't feel so temporary. But now I'm just trying to get through the day, every day. It's like I'm running in place, doing everything I can to stay afloat, but never actually moving forward. I try not to think too much about the future. If I do, it's overwhelming. What happens if the cost of living continues to rise like it has? What if wages never catch up? How will I ever get ahead if everything keeps going up but my pay stays the same? I see people posting about their vacations, their new homes, their careers, and it feels like a reminder of how far behind I am. I don't blame them, but sometimes it's hard not to feel jealous. They get to live their lives while I'm stuck in this endless cycle of trying to make ends meet. I've learned to cope in small ways. I've started budgeting more strictly, tracking every penny, even though it doesn't feel like it does much. I take comfort in the little victories, like when I manage to cook a meal at home instead of ordering takeout. I tell myself, at least I didn't overspend this week. But those small victories only get me so far. The truth is, I feel trapped. Trapped in a system that isn't built for people like me, people just starting out, people trying to make a life for themselves. It's hard to escape when it feels like everything is stacked against you. I know it's not all bad. I have a roof over my head, and I'm healthy enough to work. I have a few people I can rely on, even if it's just for emotional support. But sometimes, it feels like the weight of everything is too much. Some days, I just want to scream or cry or throw my hands up and say, I give up. But I can't. Because what would happen if I did? So, I keep going. One step in front of the other. Some days, I can see a glimpse of the future I wanted. Maybe, just maybe, things will get better. But mostly, I just hold on to the hope that I'm not the only one feeling this way. That somewhere, someone else understands this overwhelming pressure. And that, one day, I won't have to wake up to the feeling of barely staying afloat. Maybe, one day, I'll finally be able to breathe. The sound of my phone buzzing on the kitchen counter startles me. Another notification. Another reminder that I'm behind, another bill, another overdue payment, another message from the bank telling me I'm nearing my credit limit. The phone screen lights up, displaying a credit card alert, a bank balance too low for comfort, and a reminder to pay rent, which is due in 2 weeks. I sigh, rubbing my temples. It's been like this for as long as I can remember, this relentless pressure. I'm 24, just a few years out of college, and it feels like I'm constantly running uphill, barely keeping up with the pace. Every month, the same routine, I check my bank account and hope there's enough to cover what needs covering. Rent. Utilities. Grocery bills. The unexpected costs that always seem to pop up. And then there's student loan repayment, looming large in the background, silently reminding me that I'll be paying off my degree for the next decade. If I'm lucky. But there's no room for luck. Every decision I make, every dollar I spend or don't spend, feels like it's calculated with precision. I've had to give up small things, simple joys I used to take for granted. I can't buy coffee at the cafe down the street anymore, not without feeling guilty. Lunches are packed from home, and dinner? It's often just whatever I can throw together from whatever's left in the pantry. Last week, I had to skip an invitation to a friend's birthday because I just couldn't afford the gift, let alone the trip to the bar afterward. Instead, I sent a text message, "Happy birthday. I hope you have the best time. Let's catch up soon." When I do go out, I go for the cheapest options. I pretend like I'm fine with it, but I can feel the strain in my shoulders, in the way my chest tightens when the waiter places the bill in front of me. There's an art to avoiding eye contact as I pull out my credit card and swipe, hoping the next paycheck will somehow make everything balance out. Lately, the weight of it all has been suffocating. I get home after a long day at work, my full-time job at a tech startup, which barely pays the bills, and I'm too tired to cook, too tired to clean, too tired to do anything but sit on the couch and scroll through social media, feeling worse by the minute. Everyone else seems to be doing fine. They're traveling, getting new clothes, going to concerts. They're having fun, living their lives, and I'm just trying to stay afloat. It's strange, really. I thought I'd have more by now. I thought by my mid-20s, I'd have my shit together. I thought I'd be saving for a house, or at least for a vacation, or even just for a rainy day. But instead, I'm trapped in this cycle of trying to pay off debts that never seem to shrink. I've never felt like I had enough. Like I could breathe. The prices keep going up: rent, gas, groceries, health insurance, while my income stays the same. Maybe it's even lower, considering inflation. It's impossible to catch up. The harder I work, the more I feel like I'm sinking. I've stopped making plans for the future, at least the kind of plans I used to dream about. I used to think I'd travel more, see new places, meet new people, write. There was a time when I imagined myself in a cozy apartment, writing late at night, with the freedom to explore the world. But now, I just hope I can make it through the week without an emergency that will force me to dip into my already maxed out credit card. It's not that I don't have ambitions. I do. But it feels like every time I try to step forward, the world pushes me back. I think about how, when I was younger, I had this image of what adulthood would be like: stable, easy, maybe even a little bit glamorous. The reality is, it's full of constant stress and balancing acts. Every day feels like an obstacle course, and I'm constantly dodging, ducking, and weaving, just to keep from falling flat on my face. And the worst part? I feel like I'm in a system that doesn't really want me to succeed. It's like they're all built to make me fail: student loans, rising rent, underpaid internships, the gig economy. There's always a new bill, a new fee, a new cost. It feels endless, like I'm fighting a battle that I can't win. I watch people on social media talk about their new investments, their growing savings accounts, and I can't help but wonder how they're doing it. What's their secret? My parents never warned me about this. They warned me about getting into too much debt, yes, but they never prepared me for the crushing reality of how hard it is to make a living now. My dad tells me to keep my head up, that things will get better. But I know he doesn't really understand. Things were different for him when he was my age. He was able to buy a house, start a family, build a life without feeling like he was constantly drowning in expenses. I try to distract myself from the anxiety. I do yoga, or I go for walks in the park, pretending like the fresh air and greenery will somehow wash the tension from my body. Sometimes I get lucky and feel a little better after. But as soon as I get home, the feeling comes crashing back. The bills. The debt. The feeling of being stuck. I talk to my friends, but even they don't understand. They're all in the same boat. We share tips on how to stretch a dollar, how to make the most of a paycheck, how to avoid overdraft fees. We laugh about it, sort of. But beneath the humor, we all know the truth: we're struggling. And there's no end in sight. The only thing that keeps me going, the only thing that makes it all feel worthwhile, is the tiny glimmer of hope I hold on to. I dream of a future where I'm not constantly counting every penny, where I can make choices without the constant dread of what I can't afford. I dream of a day when I can travel again, or buy a nice dinner for myself without guilt. I dream of a life where I don't feel like I'm just surviving, I want to live. But for now, I wake up every morning and do what I have to do. I go to work. I budget. I hope for a better future, even if that future feels a long way off. I cope by focusing on the little things, the quiet moments, the small victories. Like paying off a credit card or managing to save a few bucks. Or just making it through another day without the weight of it all crushing me. I don't know if things will ever get easier. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. but for now, I'll keep moving forward. I'll keep trying to survive this system that seems designed to break me, and I'll keep holding on to the dream that one day, I'll finally be able to breathe. Because at the end of the day, that's all I really want, to breathe. I wake up to the sound of my alarm clock blaring, the harsh beep cutting through the fog of a restless sleep. It's 7 a.m., but it feels like I barely closed my eyes. I lie there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to summon the energy to get out of bed. The weight of everything I need to do today already presses on my chest, and the thought of facing another day where it feels like I'm running in circles exhausts me before I even begin. I'm 27 years old, and the financial pressure is suffocating. It's not that I'm lazy or don't work hard. I've been at my job for 3 years now, and I'm proud of what I do. I put in the hours, try to show up with enthusiasm even when I'm running on fumes. But every paycheck feels like it's swallowed by something else. Rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, everything keeps getting more expensive. I remember when I first moved into this apartment. The rent was manageable. I could pay it and still have a little left over for the occasional dinner out, for taking a weekend trip to clear my head. Now? Rent is creeping up every year, and it's always a stretch to cover it. But it's not just rent. It's everything. Gas prices climb higher each month. The grocery store aisles are filled with price tags that make me hesitate before putting anything in my cart. I've gotten good at scanning the shelves for the cheapest options, buying off-brand, even cutting back on things I used to treat myself to. I'll stand there, staring at a bag of chips, weighing whether I can justify the indulgence. Can I afford this snack? Is it going to put me over the edge for the week? The other day, I had to choose between paying a medical bill or buying a new tire for my car. Both were urgent. My car's been making this awful sound for days, and I can feel it in my gut, the kind of feeling that says this is going to be expensive. But the medical bill, well, that's just as pressing. I can't keep ignoring it, and yet I don't have enough to cover both. So, I did what I always do, I postponed it. I'll put off going to the doctor again and hope the pain in my back doesn't get worse. The tire, though, after 2 days of dodging potholes, I gave in. I had to get it fixed, even if it meant pulling money from my savings, which are already dwindling. I'm not alone in this. Everyone I know is struggling, too. Conversations with friends often revolve around what they're cutting back on, how they're juggling bills, whether they're picking up extra shifts or looking for a second job. It's almost become the new normal. It's like we've all accepted that we'll never get ahead. No matter how hard we work, we're stuck in a loop of expenses that never stops growing. The raise I got last year barely kept up with inflation. Every time I get a paycheck, I think, this should be enough, but somehow, it's never quite enough. It feels like I'm always playing catch-up, but I can't quite get to the front. I try not to think too much about the future, about the dreams I had when I was younger, the ones that seem so distant now. I remember wanting to travel, to experience new places and cultures. I wanted to start a savings account that would let me feel secure, to maybe one day buy a house or start a family. But with every passing month, those dreams seem to slip further and further away. I've had to put them on hold, or even let them go completely. I've convinced myself that I'll never be able to afford a house, that my best option is to rent forever. I know it's probably just the economy talking, but sometimes it feels like the system is rigged against people like me, like there's a bar that I'm just never going to reach. It's not just the material things that weigh on me. It's the emotional toll, too. The constant worry is exhausting. Every time I open my bank account, my stomach sinks. I check my credit score and try to ignore the number that's creeping lower. I'm always looking for ways to save, but the options feel limited. I've even sold some old things I no longer need just to cover a bill, but that's a temporary fix. I find myself lying awake at night, my mind racing, trying to figure out how I'll make it through the next month. I ask myself, am I doing enough? What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? I often feel isolated in this struggle. The people around me don't seem to be as impacted by it, or maybe they're just better at hiding it. They talk about their latest purchases or their vacations without realizing that those things are out of reach for me. I don't blame them, it's not their fault. But sometimes, when the conversations turn to what they've just bought or the plans they have for the weekend, I feel like I'm living in a different world. I don't know how to talk about the constant stress, how my stomach flips when I think about money, how it feels like I'm constantly holding my breath, waiting for the next unexpected expense to knock me back down. I've tried to cope with it in little ways. I take long walks when I feel overwhelmed. I've gotten into the habit of cooking big batches of food on Sundays so that I don't have to worry about meals during the week. It's not glamorous, but it's a small victory every time I manage to eat something healthy instead of grabbing fast food. I tell myself I'm doing my best. I remind myself that I'm not alone, that a lot of people are going through the same thing. Still, there's a nagging voice in the back of my head that says I should be doing more, that I should be able to find a way out. I try to stay hopeful. I do. I try to remind myself that this is temporary, that things will get better. But the longer I live in this financial strain, the harder it becomes to believe. Some days, I feel like I'm just waiting for something to change, some big break, some shift in the economy, or maybe just a miracle. But I know deep down that there's no quick fix, no way to magically make everything okay. It's a slow, grinding battle that I'm not sure I'm winning. But I keep going. I get out of bed each morning, even when I don't want to. I keep putting in the work, even when I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. I cling to the hope that one day, things might be different, that one day I'll look back on this period of my life and see how far I've come. Until then, I'll keep holding on. Because what else can I do? I just have to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the world is pushing me back. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll catch up. It's 6:30 in the morning when I hear the alarm buzz. The light outside my window is barely coming through, and my bed feels too warm to leave. But I know I can't stay. The bills are waiting, and every minute I delay adds another drop of pressure to my chest. I roll over, eyes still heavy, and check my phone. The notification bar is full, messages from my bank app, emails with subject lines like "Your payment is due," and a notification from my credit card saying, "Your balance is over the limit." My heart sinks, and I can feel the exhaustion in my bones. But I push it all down and drag myself out of bed. The day has to start. I have no choice. At 23, I never thought I'd feel like I'm drowning this early in life. I was supposed to have everything figured out by now, wasn't I? Graduated college, got the job, the adult life people always talked about. But I'm finding out the hard way that there's no script for this. I grab a quick shower, trying to shake off the tiredness, but it's like trying to outrun a shadow. Even as I stand there under the water, my mind is calculating, how much do I owe this month? Rent, utilities, the car payment that somehow feels like a sinking ship. I'm behind on everything. Again. I know it's ridiculous to even try to keep track, but every morning I get up and check anyway, hoping for some miracle to make it easier. It's almost impossible to explain what this feels like to anyone who hasn't been here. There's this pressure that builds and builds, a constant hum of anxiety that I've learned to live with, even if I can't fully accept it. Every decision I make now comes with a cost. Do I buy groceries, or do I save the money for gas? Can I pay the electricity bill today, or will I have to put it off again? Every dollar has become a lifeline I cling to, no matter how thin it feels. I sit at my kitchen table, a cup of instant coffee in my hand, staring blankly at the pile of unopened mail on the counter. I used to think I'd be living my best life at 23, I'd travel, go out with friends, experience things, but now, it feels like every cent is accounted for. Every choice I make tightens the grip on my life. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone. Everyone's struggling, right? Everyone's facing the same thing. At least that's what I tell myself when I look at the people around me, who seem to have it all together. They talk about their new cars, vacations, dinners out. Meanwhile, I'm squeezing toothpaste out until it's dry, waiting for the next paycheck to just stretch far enough to cover the basics. I leave for work, shoving my phone into my pocket, avoiding another glance at my bank app. There's nothing new there anyway. I try to pretend that I'm normal, that I'm not one bad day away from being late on everything. I walk down the street, holding my head high, but inside, I'm wondering if I'm fooling anyone. If I'm fooling myself. Work is its own brand of exhausting. It's a series of emails, phone calls, meetings, and pretending like I'm not thinking about what I need to pay next. I never used to feel like I was just going through the motions. But now? Now, it feels like I'm trapped in an endless cycle of work, eat, sleep, repeat. The paychecks are never enough. The rent is always going up, and every small expense adds to this weight I'm carrying. By the time I get home, it's late. I don't have the energy to cook, so I grab something quick, more instant noodles or frozen pizza. The thought of making a real meal feels like a luxury I can't afford. I sit on the couch with the TV on, but I don't really watch it. I scroll through my phone, seeing people post about vacations, new jobs, new outfits, and I feel a pang in my chest. I want those things too. I dream about them, but I can't seem to get my foot out of the door that's been slammed shut by bills, responsibilities, and the crushing weight of not having enough. I think about what I've had to put off, the things that I always thought I'd get to eventually. Maybe it's a road trip across the country, or saving enough for a place of my own. Maybe it's a career change, something I'm passionate about. But it all feels so far away, like it's out of my reach. I can't seem to escape this cycle. I'm constantly told to be patient, to trust the process, but it's hard to keep believing when the process feels like it's choking me. I tell myself it'll get better. I have to. What other choice do I have? Maybe once I get a raise, or find a better paying job, or if my rent just stops going up, I'll have some breathing room. Maybe then I'll get to do the things I've been putting off. But I can't help but wonder if it's all just a game of catch-up, like I'm always running behind, and every time I get close, the finish line moves further away. Some nights, I lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind spinning. The weight of it all is almost too much to bear. I wish I could wake up and find everything fixed, but I know that's not how this works. So, I force myself to focus on the little things. I breathe in, breathe out, and tell myself to take it day by day. What else can I do? What else can anyone do when the world feels so stacked against you? I don't talk about this much. Not to my friends, not to my family. They don't know how bad it is, or how overwhelmed I feel. How can I tell them? They're already juggling their own struggles, their own lives. I'm not sure what would be worse, telling them, and making them feel sorry for me, or keeping it all inside until I explode. So, I keep going. I keep paying what I can, cutting corners wherever I can, and holding on to whatever little sliver of hope I have left. It's exhausting, but I have no other choice. I just want to breathe. I want to feel like I'm moving forward, like I'm not stuck. But sometimes, it feels like the harder I work, the deeper I fall. The world keeps spinning, and I keep trying to keep up, but I'm getting so tired. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know when things will get easier. But maybe that's the hardest part. I can't see the end of this tunnel, and it feels like the light I'm chasing is always out of reach. All I can do is hold on, keep doing what I can to survive. And hope that someday, things will get better. I woke up this morning to the familiar buzz of my phone, the one that's been my alarm clock for the past few months. The first thing I did was check my bank balance, something I've become so accustomed to that it almost feels like an automatic reflex. I wasn't surprised to see the numbers, but it still stung. I have just enough to cover my bills this month, just enough. The just enough part has become a bit of a theme lately. It's like I've learned how to survive but not live. I make it through the day, but I don't feel alive in the way I thought I would by now. I'm 27. I graduated college 5 years ago, full of hope and ambition. I remember thinking that by now, I'd be settled into a good job, maybe even starting to think about buying a house or going on a vacation for the first time in years. I pictured myself, a few years older, with a career, savings, the freedom to enjoy life without worrying about whether I can afford dinner next week. But instead, I'm still here, still juggling bills, still wondering if I'll be able to pay my rent this month without falling behind. The first thing I do after checking my balance is calculate what I have to work with. Rent is due in 5 days, and I've already put off paying it as long as I can. I have a little cushion now, but I know that's not going to last long. The problem is that everything seems to cost more than it used to. Gas prices are through the roof, groceries keep going up, and I'm paying for a car I don't even need anymore because it's become too expensive to keep up with. But what else can I do? I need it to get to work. If I didn't have that, I'd be stuck. I'm stuck in this endless loop of work, pay bills, survive, repeat. Some days, I feel like I'm losing a bit of myself to the grind, like I'm more of a robot than a person. There's this constant tension in the pit of my stomach, the weight of financial pressure that never lets up. It doesn't matter how hard I work or how many extra shifts I pick up. The bills just keep growing. Rent went up this year. The gas and electricity companies raised their rates, of course. I keep getting emails from the student loan service reminding me of my payments, though the balance hasn't gone down much since I graduated. Every month, I feel like I'm just marking time, not really getting anywhere. I don't want to complain too much. I know I'm not the only one going through this. Everyone around me seems to be struggling too. But it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind, like I'm doing everything I can and still can't get ahead. I see friends posting about vacations, new apartments, or fancy dinners out, and it stings a little. It's not that I don't want them to enjoy their lives, but it's hard not to wonder when it will be my turn to feel like I'm not drowning in bills and responsibilities. Sometimes, I get so frustrated with myself. Why didn't I make better financial decisions earlier? Why did I rack up credit card debt in college? Why didn't I start saving sooner? The truth is, I didn't know then what I know now. No one ever taught me about how the system works. They didn't tell me how student loans would weigh on me for decades, or how wages would stay stagnant while the cost of living skyrocketed. They didn't tell me that getting a degree wouldn't automatically open doors, it would just open a path to more debt. And yet, here I am, just trying to stay afloat. It's not just the money that gets to me, it's the emotional toll. Every time something goes wrong, a flat tire, an unexpected medical bill, a late fee from a missed payment, my anxiety spikes. I try to breathe through it, but sometimes it feels suffocating. I find myself avoiding people because I'm embarrassed by the life I can't afford to live. I don't want to explain why I can't join a group of friends for a night out, or why I haven't gone on a vacation in years. It's just easier to keep to myself. There's this low-level sadness that lingers, too, like a constant hum in the background. It's the feeling of knowing that my dreams, the things I wanted to do, travel, buy a house, start a family, take a break from working so hard, are slipping further away every day. I don't know when I'll be able to take that trip to Europe I've been dreaming about, or when I'll be able to afford something more than the smallest apartment in a crummy building. These things, once so tangible in my mind, now feel out of reach. They seem like a fantasy, a distant dream I can't afford to chase. I cope with it by setting smaller goals, but even those feel harder to achieve sometimes. I try to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can, that I'm not failing. But it's hard to feel like I'm not failing when I'm constantly running out of money before the month ends. I try to focus on the positives. I have a job, I have food to eat, I have a roof over my head. But it's hard not to feel like there's something more out there for me, something I'm being kept from by circumstances I have no control over. What I want more than anything is to break free from this cycle. I want to know what it feels like to not constantly worry about money. To be able to go to bed at night without my mind racing with thoughts of bills and loans and rent hikes. I want to live a life where I can make choices based on what I want to do, not just what I have to do to survive. But for now, I keep going. I take one day at a time, one paycheck at a time. I try to hold on to the small moments of joy, a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, an evening walk, a call with a friend. I try to remind myself that it won't always be like this, even if it feels like it. And maybe, just maybe, someday, I'll find a way out of this maze I'm stuck in. Until then, I keep going. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.